This is Hannibal back here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with another update on UAPs. I just did a review of Lou Elizondo's detailed News Nation appearance tonight where he gave a lot of information. But let's get into the other news of tonight or last night now because we're into the morning here in Wichita time. Officials from Texas are saying a small group of drones, approximately 6, were seen flying through the neighborhoods of the NAS Joint Reserve Base at White Settlement in North Texas. It's an NAS JRB restricted airspace area, and there's criminal and civil penalties for going into this airspace without a permit. So another base issue that's literally breaking right now. So let me start off with, I'm going to review quickly news updates from 4 different people. Ben Hansen, former FBI investigator, was interviewed by News Nation. He stated John Kirby of the Pentagon put a statement saying not to worry about anything, and there's nothing nefarious going on. Nefarious meaning criminal. He says he can't make sense of that statement because there's confirmed sightings at Picatinny Arsenal Base, New Jersey, 11 incursions, at least 2 incursions at Earl Base in New Jersey as well. Both of them are restricted airspace. He says to say that he's either speaking from an uninformed position as far as Kirby from the White House, or he's lying. He says there has been incursions confirmed over Hill Air Force Base. They are also, it has not been shut down yet though. Whoever is doing it is violating the law. There was also a Wright-Patterson Air Force Base incursion Friday and Saturday. I mean, it's clearly we're being invaded by something right now. To me, it's clear something, there's lots of quote-unquote incursions, or this is some type of secret operation, but it doesn't make sense why they would, unless it's a coup d'etat, why they would be causing their own government so many issues right now if it is us doing this in our own airspace. So again, Ben Hansen says here, former FBI investigator who has been investigating this, whoever's doing this is violating the law. They can't fly over bases without specific waivers by the FAA, and the FAA is saying they have no clue who's doing this. So it's either authorized covert military activity or they're breaking the law. The Pentagon is fully denying the drones are there. He believes that if it was a weapons of mass destruction issue, all agencies would be aware of it. And since there seems to be a lot of confusion between agencies as to what this is, there's a very low possibility of that, and a very low possibility these are all ours. He said he's a 107 drone pilot and also a fixed wing pilot of normal aircraft. So he knows what he's talking about. If you don't get a waiver for a drone to fly at night and you don't have anti-collision lights on, you can get in serious trouble. You need to stay under 400 feet. Controller crafts have to have the controllers of the drone crafts have to be in visual sight of their drones by law, flying at night. Drones of more than 55 pounds need a waiver and can't fly directly over people. He believes it's not a drone by any type of waiver that the FAA knows about. Drone, and these are the mystery ones. We're not talking about all the normal ones and government ones flying around up there. Drones have broadcast remote ID. There is multiple reasons to believe the mystery drones are breaking the law. And again, there's a lot of activity up there of all different types, commercial, civilian, the mystery ones, military, first responder, among other stuff we've been seeing up there. He says for Kirby, the White House representative to be saying that they're all flying legally and not nefarious as a blanket statement, which, by the way, Biden seemed to agree with this in his bizarre statement today that Biden made while he was seemingly like completely blacked out in his face, wearing a baseball hat with airplane sounds in the background, not at all like a real normal White House briefing would be. But he says to say such an uninformed statement that none of these at all are nefarious when we're seeing reports that have been happening over Air Force basements leads you to believe there's some type of cover up. He does not understand why the representatives would be saying this, because from a law enforcement standpoint, there is many reasons to believe whoever is flying these drones should be prosecuted. Between the two sightings at Earl, 11 at Picatinny, Wright-Patterson having serious overflight issues last weekend over the course of 2 days, by any definition, these incursions are unlawful and a national security risk, and they wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars in military resources to deal with. To say that all of these are accounted for and known, you would need to give specific reasons why. To say that as a blanket statement is not helpful at all to anyone. More and more now, there is going to be people trying to fake these for various reasons as to stir up trouble. But he does say, as far as the ones that are reportedly SUV size and have been seen in the air hovering for up to 12 hours, that's nothing that we know man can make at this point, because the maximum seems to be about 2 to 3 hours for something anywhere near that size. He says when half of the Department of Defense says we're closing down airports, and the other half says there's nothing wrong, we don't need to do anything, there's a problem. He said around 1952, there was a lot of reports of this type of activity. Obviously, there was no social media back then. And eventually, people just stopped reporting on it. And the problem eventually went away. He said this could be probing from somewhere, someone probing us, testing to see our reaction to incursions like this, or simply surveying. In other words, conducting espionage. So then the next person I'm going to review is Michael Schellenberger, who testified to Congress at the most recent congressional briefings and is a reporter. He was interviewed tonight by News Nation as well. He said there has been implications. The government is implicated that within 3 days, they've looked at over 6,000 cases, and they can conclusively say that after looking at 6,000 cases, supposedly in 3 days, there's nothing going on in most of the cases, but they're still looking into it. But don't worry. He says sometimes they will say they're looking into it and not to worry, and other times they say they're looking into it, but they don't know what everything is. And I have actually heard on a separate note, the Pentagon, several people from the Pentagon say they have not ruled out that there could be some type of threat. But I mean, these aren't said in any of the blanket statements. He said this started as people seeing a very intense amount of sightings as drone incursions over their homes in New Jersey, to now there is sightings of drone incursions on bases all over the world, particularly U.S. and joint U.S. military bases. The incursions over Langley military base in West Virginia happened for 17 days. Picatinny Arsenal Base in New Jersey, there was 11 incursions. Naval Weapons Station Earl in New Jersey, there's been at least 2 incursions. Air Force Plant Base in California, there's been incursions. Hill Air Force Base in Utah, Palo Verde Nuclear Generating Station in Arizona, Pendleton Base, Minuteman silos in Northeast Colorado, and now the Texas ones as well. There's a lot going on. 4 bases in the UK, 1 in Germany. I've personally heard about some stuff happening in Guam, where I know they hold special military equipment. And Schellenberger goes on to say, and I'm saying that about Guam, not Schellenberger. That was in a separate video that I watched today. Schellenberger goes on to say, for the government to say that there's nothing to worry about is absolutely absurd. The counter drone technologies that they are trying to use are not working. Hence, the military base is shutting down. They need to sort out who can go after them. As far as people say, the different levels of protection can't go after them unless certain scenarios are met and certain approvals are met. However, he's saying if there was any immediate, again, these things could be doing anything up there, but as far as like an immediate danger, they would have scrambled jets up there by now, and something could have been done. There's some bizarre reason this has been going on now for going on at a serious level now for like a month and 2 days. Schellenberger does not believe it's Iran or China. Then I go on to an interview I watched with former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Joseph Franscon, and I may be pronouncing his name wrong, but he says this is a national security threat. He says this is a critical threat and it's not being met with appropriate action. He says the Pentagon admits there could be threats over military sites. Again, at the same time, they're saying there's nothing nefarious, which I think at this point, not only is saying that not correct, but it's just a slap in the face to everybody that's actually paying any attention to this or has experienced anything related to this. And it's a slap in the face to your own military. Then, and again, Whitley Strieber is an alleged abductee, famous author who is also a UAP investigator. I've read some of his books. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'll say some good points that he released today. He says he doesn't believe there's nuclear sniffing at this point, because the nuclear material that went missing. Right now is being reported that it was just medical waste. And he says these incursions are happening all over the world and all over the country. So if it's just weapons of mass destruction in one area, the incursions everywhere wouldn't make sense. I mean, there was a pilot in Eugene, Oregon that witnessed 4 or 5 of these on the weekend, and the radar conversation with the radar operator was released. What Whitley is saying, and again, this is hearsay, is that, but I do understand there is a connection from my research into UAPs, that if it has anything to do with potential visitors, there's lots of evidence that they've been interested in nuclear material for a long time. And a lot of this has to do with military, and nuclear threats are at a high right now that they haven't been at for a very long time. Yes, non-commercial drones cannot fly that long. And again, there's a lot of ways, a lot of things going on. I wouldn't, for the people saying that this is good because it shows us what our issues are, as far as defense issues. I mean, why would you want it publicly broadcasted like this if this really was a test of defense issues? And it's like, well, now we're being shown that we have these defense issues, but it doesn't seem like anything's slowing down at all. We're seeing other Air Force bases that weren't previously affected now reporting that they are being affected by these mystery drone incursions. And again, there's multiple types of activity. And as Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's UAP program, said in my previous review that I covered, some of these drones could be drones reacting to UAP activity, drones from our government and first responders reacting to UAP activity, or at the same time, they're sending this stuff there as another possibility to cover up that there's actually been real activity happening in the area to muddy the waters. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to say on it because it's almost impossible to keep up with the news. One thing I can tell you, 100% is not true for the people that are saying this is not nefarious, nothing to worry about. We got it under control. We went through over 6,000 reports in 3 days. Don't worry about it. Nothing to worry about here. Just go about your business. I don't buy that. And I'm going to keep doing my own research. Have a great night or morning.